Every single morning, millions of people wake up way before sunrise. They sit through grueling traffic, pull incredibly long hours, deal with nonstop stress, come home absolutely exhausted, and then they wake up and do it all over again. These are honest, disciplined, genuinely hardworking folks. But here's the crazy part. Despite all that relentless effort, so many of them are still drowning in daily financial stress. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the hidden financial rules that separate the truly wealthy from everyone else, and we're going to look at why relying on hard work alone, well, it just isn't enough.
Okay, let's dive into this, because the question we really have to ask ourselves today is a bit of a hard truth bomb that we all need to confront. We all know people who seem to work way fewer hours but just keep building wealth year after year, right? Their investments are growing while they're literally fast asleep, and their assets appreciate without them breaking a sweat. So what's the secret? The answer to this paradox is actually pretty simple, but it is incredibly powerful. Hard work, that creates income, but financial intelligence, that creates true wealth. And honestly, understanding this fundamental difference between income and wealth is probably going to be the single biggest turning point in your entire financial journey. Think about it. Since we were kids, we've all been fed the exact same traditional advice. Study hard, get a stable career, put in the honest work, save your pennies, and magically everything's going to be fine. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with that advice. It's just totally incomplete. Schools are fantastic at teaching us calculus, but they rarely teach us how to budget. They teach us history, but entirely skip over the absolute magic of compound interest. Because of this, you have highly educated people who know exactly how to earn a paycheck, but they never actually learn how to make that money grow. To really see this in action, let's look at two completely different financial lives side by side. Let's take person A. They earn a massive 250,000 rupees every single month. Sounds great, right? But they live in this expensive, glossy apartment, drive a flashy luxury car financed through massive loans, always have the absolute latest gadgets, and travel constantly. They invest next to nothing and have practically zero emergency fund. If their salary suddenly stopped, severe financial panic within months. Now, contrast that with person B. They earn a much more modest 70,000 rupees a month, but here's the kicker. They live well below their means, they invest a portion of that income every single month without fail, they've built a rock-solid emergency fund, and they keep their debt under strict control. Fast forward 15 years, person B is likely going to have accumulated significantly greater wealth, despite earning just a fraction of what person A makes. And that comparison proves a totally crucial reality about money. A sky-high income, it often just masks massive debt. People use the words rich and wealthy interchangeably all the time, but they describe two totally different financial realities. Someone might look rich because they're dripping in expensive, flashy stuff, but that guy revving his luxury sports car at the red light, he might actually be drowning in crushing loan repayments, barely scraping by month to month. A wealthy person, on the other hand, quietly owns invisible, value-creating assets, things like investments, real estate, businesses. True wealth is really about financial security and having the absolute freedom to make life choices without that constant, suffocating financial pressure. So what's actually killing our wealth? Well, let's look at the biggest culprit out there: lifestyle inflation. This is exactly what happens when your income goes up and your spending immediately jumps right up alongside it. You get that sweet salary bump, and suddenly you need a bigger house, a better car, the premium phone, and way more subscription services. That extra hard-earned money just vanishes into lifestyle upgrades instead of hitting your bank balance. Sure, your lifestyle looks better, but your actual net worth, it stays stubbornly glued to zero. Instead of instantly upgrading their lifestyle with every single raise, the wealthy always think about increasing their investments first. Tied directly into that lifestyle inflation is what we call the approval trap. It's crazy, but so many of our purchases are actually driven by social pressure rather than any genuine personal need. We buy things because we crave approval. We're essentially spending money we don't have on things we don't even need just to impress people we don't really know. And that traps you in an endless, exhausting loop. Earn more, spend more, borrow more, and repeat. The wealthiest people out there, they focus way less on appearing wealthy to their neighbors and far more on actually becoming financially secure for themselves.
Now think about the number one for a second. If I asked you to sit at a table that only had one leg, would you trust it? No way, right? It's incredibly vulnerable. It would just tip over. Yet millions of people rely entirely on just one single source of income, their primary job. If that one source suddenly disappears because of an economic downturn, a random illness, or company layoffs, massive financial stress hits almost instantly. Building additional income sources over time, whether that's through investments, a side hustle, or rental income, is exactly how you add sturdy, reliable legs to your financial table. And when it comes to building those sturdy legs, time is absolutely your most valuable asset. You've probably heard the quote attributed to Albert Einstein, where he calls compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. But honestly, hearing about it and actually using it are two very different things. Compounding is literally what allows your returns to generate their own returns over long periods of time. This is where the magic actually happens. Someone who invests consistently for 20 years is almost always going to accumulate substantially more wealth than someone who waits 10 years before starting, even if that latecomer dumps way more money in each month. Investing consistently for decades absolutely crushes waiting around for the perfect moment. But of course, to actually have money to invest, we have to tackle our emotions. Money decisions are rarely purely logical. Believe me, companies know this perfectly. Their ads are selling you a feeling long before they ever try to sell you a product. We spend money because we're happy, or sad, or bored, or just totally stressed out. So to fight back against that emotionally driven spending, you've got to pause before making those random purchases and ask yourself one ridiculously simple question. Will I still want this next week? Taking just that tiny pause can literally save you thousands of dollars over time. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that it clearly defines the ultimate building block of wealth. An asset is simply something that puts money straight into your pocket. It's anything that has the potential to generate ongoing income or appreciate in value over time. So we're talking about productive businesses, diversified investment portfolios, rental properties, and yeah, even the valuable professional skills that you develop for yourself. In stark contrast, a liability is the exact mechanism that just drains your wealth. It's something that regularly costs you money just to own it or keep it maintained without giving you any meaningful financial return down the road. The real trick to financial freedom is training yourself to evaluate every single major purchase you make through this exact asset versus liability lens. Before you swipe that card, ask yourself, is this building my future wealth or is it just jacking up my monthly expenses? And this brilliantly illustrates the core psychological shift you really need to make. Building wealth is honestly less about your raw IQ and way more about your daily behavior. Just look at the traditional mindset. You earn, you spend, and then you try to save whatever tiny little scraps are left over. Now flip it. Look at the wealthy mindset. You earn, you invest first, and then you live off what remains. This is what we call paying yourself first. By prioritizing your investing right off the bat, you completely remove the temptation to overspend on random stuff you just don't need. That mindset leads directly into the core habits of everyday wealth builders. They don't just pay themselves first, they meticulously track every single rupee so they can uncover hidden savings. They treat financial literacy as a lifelong skill to keep sharpening. They fiercely avoid high-interest debt like it's the plague, and most importantly, they think in decades, not days. Delayed gratification and absolute patience compound exactly the same way financial investments do. So how do we actually put all this into practice today? Well, here's your concrete 6-step action plan that you can literally execute right now. Start by writing down every single source of income and listing out your recurring expenses. Then challenge yourself to reduce just 3 of those expenses today. Take that freed up cash and set it to auto-invest before you even have a chance to spend it. Next, build up that emergency buffer and finally commit just 20 minutes a day to learning about finance. These might seem like small steps, but these consistent actions create absolutely massive impacts long term. Now, as you jump into this plan, you've got to guard yourself against the really common pitfalls that sabotage so many financial journeys. First off, do not wait for the perfect time to invest. That time is quite literally today. Run far, far away from any get-rich-quick schemes because true wealth is never built overnight. Don't ignore your emergency savings, stop spending your future income through unnecessary borrowing, and absolutely, positively stop comparing your day one to someone else's highlight reel. If you take away anything from our deep dive today, please let it be this core thesis. Your financial behavior and your daily discipline matter so much more than just raw financial knowledge. You do not need to be born into wealth to radically improve your financial future. You don't need a perfect salary, you don't need perfect market timing, and you don't need perfect knowledge. Every single wealthy person started somewhere, and they built their financial freedom not through one brilliant lightning bolt idea, but through thousands of thoughtful, slightly better financial choices made consistently over many, many years.
So the crucial point is really captured in this powerful idea. It frames the true, genuinely liberating purpose of mastering your money. The goal isn't just to hoard cash or to look super impressive to strangers. The goal is to build a life where your money gradually starts working right alongside you, ultimately giving you the ultimate freedom to live entirely on your own terms.
Because the journey to financial freedom, it doesn't begin when you just magically become rich one day. It begins the exact day you decide to shift your mindset and start thinking differently about how money flows through your life. You have the knowledge now. You have the action plan laid out. So the only question left for you is, are you ready for day one?